and he's going to house it.
It's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another Angle of Pursuit podcast, your NASCAR home. I am your host, Kyle Robert. You follow me on Twitter at NotoriousKRO. With me, coming live from Vegas, a place where I will be in just a mere 48 hours, it's Brian Twining. What's up, Brian?
What's up, Kyle? Yeah, I've been here for a few days now, getting the new place set up, and I am ecstatic to get back to the track this weekend to see the first race of the round of 8 for the Cup Series playoffs. And there's going to be some interesting bets going on the card this week.
Absolutely. If you are going to be at the race, let us know. Let us know down in the comments. Let us know on Twitter. We're down to meet up, say hello. You see Brian and I walking around. Come say hello. We will be there all day on Sunday. We'll be in the sports book on Saturday, probably Westgate.
Yeah, maybe.
Or maybe bouncing around. So
maybe a few. We'll see.
Yeah, so we'll try and share it out, or you can just hit us in the DMs if you're going to be around. You want to watch some college football and make some bets. So that's what we're going to be doing. But let's dive into last week, Brian, before we dive into the South Point 400 and talk about all of the stuff we are betting this week.
Let's make it quick.
Yeah, it was pretty gross. Not too happy with our or at least my recent performance. You've been in a much better place, but even then, this was our DraftKings lineup. I actually didn't create multiple lineups this week. I got busy with football and other things, and well, here we are. So I did throw it in the $12K or $12 10K single entry to see how it would do.
Of course, the 1 week you do that is the week it
right.
It
was absolutely awful. So Kyle Larson just out of the playoffs, just out the paint. Get out of here. Daniel Suarez. Oh, you want? Oh yeah, you're out too. 35th and 36th. It turns out when you get a guy starting third and a guy starting 18th, and they finish 35 and 36 respectively. Not super good for your lineups. Oh, and then Joey Hand ended up upside down, so that's fun. Almirola was great. Buescher was great. Chase Elliott.
Honestly, I was going to say the most surprising thing is Chase Elliott finishing in the middle of the pack. Like, for a guy who at one time was considered by far the best road course racer, he's still struggling to get a win. Like,
to be fair, he was crushing it. He was looking really good. He was right up in front. And then, car met his bumper, ended up spinning out, and kind of ended up in the middle of the pack and finished there. So interesting race. Didn't really do great with our ownership either, which I thought was interesting. Suarez was a little bit less owned in the $12 single entry. Elliott was a little more. Hand was 4%, so that could have been a nice payday if he had done anything.
If he actually finished.
Yeah. And then we'll just flip over to the betting card where I have been ice cold. Live look at me betting NASCAR. It has not been good. I feel like, obviously when you bet stuff like Talladega, it's an adventure anyways, and it's just it hasn't been a good run. My head-to-heads haven't been hitting, my outrights haven't been hitting. Maybe I'm getting a little too aggressive with my card. I might dial it back a little bit this week. Buescher and McDowell were both solid, both in the conversation, but never really felt like people that could win the race. The Buescher top 10 was nice. McDowell top 10 was in play until it wasn't. William Byron, the dinger. I mean, I don't know. It was a frustrating week. Obviously, taking Kyle Larson over Chase Elliott was not the move, as he was out of the race pretty quickly. You crushed me with your Buescher over McDowell. Cindric, not so much. Daniel Suarez, I just went into all the guys that got bounced out of the playoffs. So it was a rough week. Not great for you either. You did have the Buescher top 10 and the Buescher over McDowell, but outside of that, lots of red. As you can see, you're still in the green, so good job. Keep hitting those outrights and keep bankroll up my my
I
loss.
was just gonna say the only reason why I'm in the green is because I hit those couple of outrights, and
Mhm.
that's why I'm allowed a little bit more leeway when it comes
Yep.
to getting aggressive here.
Yep. So avoid the bloodbath that is our betting card. But let's move on, Brian. Let's find some victories. Hopefully, how much fun would it be to cash the outright
Oh,
this week sitting at the
incredible.
track? I'm hoping we can I'm hoping we can figure it out. Hoping we can get there and
They'd
find
probably have to call the police with how excited I'd be if I was actually witness to an outright winner. Like,
all I'm saying is I want to have an outright on Ross Chastain. I want Ross Chastain to take the victory, to get to victory lane, and I want us standing next to him with watermelons ready to smash it on the track.
that would be awesome.
Nonetheless, let's jump into it. So we have Denny Hamlin, 5.5 to 1, is your pretty sizable favorite. The next group is kind of the Chase Elliott between 8 and 10, Ross Chastain around 9.5. Tyler Reddick is 6.5 at Caesars, but then 9 or 9.5 everywhere else. Kyle Larson after getting kicked out of the
Nope.
playoffs, between 7 and 9. Your guy Christopher Bell, 8 and 9. We'll cut it off there, I guess. Inside this range, what are your thoughts? Who is garnering your attention as we look at the guys that have the shortest numbers?
Well, I mean, clearly Ross Chastain ran pretty well here back in the spring, but when you're looking at recency, like recent performances, Chastain has been kind of all over the board.
Yep.
He performed better in the last couple of races of the last round, but it's really hard to tell what he's going to do here. 9 to 1. I don't know if I can get there at this time with him. Denny Hamlin back in the spring was incredible, but one thing to keep in mind about that previous race here in Las Vegas is that they placed 6 of the top 10 cars
Yeah.
at that race, and then they've also won 3 of the last 4 Sin City races. So Chevrolet has been kind of monopolizing Las Vegas. So it'll be interesting to see if Toyota can try to find victory lane, because during that spring race, both Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch, and Christopher Bell were fantastic in different stages of the race. And as with Busch ending it really strong, Hamlin being really good early and spinning himself out. I remember sitting in the stands, just like everyone just kind of putting their hands up, like, what the F is this guy doing?
Yeah.
So I mean, like, going back to Elliott at 10 to 1, that's a pretty good number for somebody who has been driving as good as he has, regardless of what happened last week.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. I am looking a little deeper into Ross Chastain. As he, obviously we talked to you mentioned he had really good run here last time. Started third, or started fifth. No, wait. Elliott started fifth. He started 18th. Was able to get to third by the end of stage 1. Was actually won stage 2 and then finished third at the end of the race. So really nice performance from him. But I know that a lot of his value came, a lot of his wins, a lot of his really impressive performances seemingly came in the first, first half of the NASCAR season. But, I was looking at Kansas as kind of a comp course, as well as Darlington, as well as Nashville. And, there's a lot to like about where Ross Chastain was at a lot of those tracks. Darlington was the outlier, as he finished 20th after starting 12th, but did get all the way up to 6th by the end of stage 1. So has a little bit of an interesting run here. We were kind of joking about, throwing the watermelons, but this might actually be a place where the watermelon man finds victory lane and can set him up to get inside. If we could get to that final 4, we'll be looking
That
so nice with that team.
I was just gonna say, for the show purposes, our ideal Final 4 would be Ryan Blaney, Ross Chastain, Christopher Bell, and William Byron. If
Yep.
we could get all 4 of those guys in there, we will be celebrating before the championship race,
or at
because
least
we'll
3.
have a winner.
Yeah, at least 3 of those. Yeah, but yeah, 4 of them would be nice. But yeah, if I can get just get me to Chastain,
50 to 1,
get
yeah.
me to Phoenix with Chastain in the final 4, and I'll take my chances. I'll find my way to hedge out, because those 65, 70s, whatever we have, are looking really nice. But yes, Elliott looks really good as well. I think kind of hitting a couple of these guys might be the move. Larson's numbers pop, obviously, but he's just so hard to
Nope.
get to. It's been a real frustrating season.
Yeah.
It's kind of wild how dominant he was last year and how he's not even making it to the Elite Eight. It's pretty insane. I think Christopher Bell is also, of the guys that make a lot of sense. Obviously, got the win last week.
And that was a win to advance situation for him as
Yes.
well. So that was pretty impressive that he was able to do that.
Yeah, for sure. And it's not, I like, if you said Christopher Bell is going to win one of the 3 races, I'm
Mhm.
not sure the Roval would be the one you'd pick.
No.
That's the one he ended up getting to, which is really good to see. And obviously, yeah, I don't want to say he has less motivation because he's trying to win every race, but less pressure on him. Where if he's sitting in 3rd or 4th and it's just not really happening, he can just kind of coast and get there. So I don't know if I love him on the outright market, but that number is nice. And this is more of a track where he does excel. Blaney, as we dive into kind of the early double digits, 10-1. Byron 10-1, 12-1. Martin Truex, you can get as low as 12-1. Kyle Busch, it's been a
I like him at
frustrating.
I like Kyle Busch at 12-1. I
Yeah.
mean, he runs absolutely incredibly here at his home track. He
Yep.
finished 4th back in the spring. He led something like 49 laps. He was like the best car on track late, like over the second half of the race. And this will be the last year he's driving with Joe Gibbs in the M&M's car. So I mean, he's going to want to put on the show for his hometown crowd. So Busch at 12-1 makes a lot of sense coming into practice and qualifying.
Yeah, and it hasn't been a good run for him, but he did finish 3rd last week. But before that, 20th, 36th, 34th, 26th, 30th. There's a 10th at Daytona, a 32nd, a 9th at Richmond, a 36th, an 11th. Like, he's just like,
And let me also add that he's actually sucked the last 4 intermediate tracks, very similar to this. He's finished 21st or worse. So
yeah,
it's not
and
like he's running very well.
8 of his last 12, he's finished 25th or worst. And then before then, Atlanta hit a 20th and Road America 29th, Nashville. Like, he's just been an absolute mess in the second half. Basically, ever since Gateway, so in the middle of May, he went Kansas 3rd, Texas 21st, but then Charlotte 2nd, Gateway 2nd. After that point, it's just been downhill, downhill, downhill. So we're obviously getting a better price than we probably should based on how he's been performing, but there's also a reason him and Larson, I think, are both, the way they are priced from a season long perspective makes sense.
Yeah.
From a how they traditionally run at this style of tracks does not. But yeah, I think Kyle Busch over Kyle Larson would be my favorite play of the 2.
I will also add real quick that if you look at the previous round, the round of 12, the first 2 races there were won by non-playoff drivers. So it's not
Mm-hmm.
like it's not like you have to cherry pick from the remaining 8 guys here, because clearly this new car is making it to where even the guys that are in the playoffs and the guys that are out of the playoffs, they really don't give a crap about that. And
Yep.
they're just as strong as everyone else. And they're fighting for those victories in that winning prize pool as well.
Yeah. No, 100%. And they're trying to lock in a win. They're trying to get points for their team. They're trying to do a lot of the stuff. Bubba Wallace, in terms of this track setup, makes sense, but did not run as well last time we were here. Now, obviously, he's improved.
That was really early in the season, though.
He's improved significantly as the season's gone along. Is he somebody that interests you, especially if you can get that like 15 or 16-1?
I don't know if I'm there yet with Wallace to have him in the same breath as a Joey Logano. As much as I don't like Logano, I would prefer to wager him at 16-1 than a Bubba at 16-1,
Yeah.
Especially at a 1.5, where Bubba hasn't traditionally been the greatest here, whereas Logano's actually run pretty well in Vegas. And yes, Wallace has popped, but just for value wise, I don't think he's quite to this number yet at the sports book.
But we've talked about this number, Brian, when there's a driver that's kind of not really in the spot. But I think in terms of price, he's probably priced pretty fairly for what expectations are and how they think they'll
Okay,
get money.
just to put it into perspective, he has one finish, his win at Kansas, better than ninth at these 1.5 miles.
Yeah.
And outside of that ninth place finish at Darlington, he has two other finishes, 10th and 12th. And then the other 3 or 4 are all outside the top 20. So it's not like he's gangbusters at this track type.
Right. No, I think that makes sense. Alex Bowman is out for the next 3 races.
That sucks.
Gragson will be, it's not great. I kind of wanted to see him race this weekend, but that's okay. Gragson will be in his seed. Dinger will be in the 16. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Just to add this little tidbit, I always have these little weird stats. So this will mark the 5th consecutive season that since we started racing here twice, that the winner of the spring race does not finish better than 9th place. Obviously, Bowman's not going to race, so he can't finish at all. But it was interesting to note that the spring race winner had never finished better than 9th.
It's very, very interesting. In terms of longer shots, guys, as we kind of tumble down the board here, anybody jumping out to you as a value in this kind of 40 to 75, even all the way up to 100 to 1, depending on where you look?
Hey, give me my guy Eric Jones. I get 100 to 1. That's freaking ridiculous.
Yeah.
Even on a dart throw, that's a crazy number for a guy who always has speed. It's just whether or not he could put together an entire race and finish when it matters.
Yep, I think in terms of value at his number, I think he does make some sense. We always like him at faster tracks. We like him at the fast 2 mile in Michigan, obviously on super speedways, and this is one of the fastest 1.5. So I think he makes a lot of sense this week. If you're looking for a more of a lottery ticket, shot at a big payday. I don't know if I love Suarez. I don't know if I love Cindric. I kind of like Briscoe, I think. But maybe that's silly season and I shouldn't be optimistic about it. I'm never a Briscoe guy, but
I almost feel like when we do bet Briscoe, he absolutely wrecks our card. But if you avoid him and it's like you're on the fence with him and you wind up not adding him, he's going to wind up doing well. So
he'll end up getting like a third or something.
You're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't with him.
Yeah, that's the Chase Briscoe experience. He did qualify 4th when we were here and pretty much fell backwards. Obviously had an accident, but did not run well at the last time we were here.
I will also say I am going to add Ryan Blaney to the card. I'm going to keep doing it until he wins a freaking race this season because it's got to happen.
I mean, death taxes and Eric Jones and Ryan Blaney going on the card is I mean, I don't know. I don't really expect much from you. In terms of outrights, I'm gonna try and keep it tidy again. I think it's Ross Chastain week.
All right, let's go.
I'm not I'm of course I'm second and third and fourth guessing myself, but it's just the cold streak has really gotten into the old noggin, but I think it is Ross Chastain week. What's the best number I can get for him?
I gotta admit, because we're gonna be here, my card's gonna be a little bit heavier than normal. So
good. I'm happy to hear that. I'm gonna try and dial it back, which means I definitely won't, but that's okay. So you have Ryan Blaney on the card.
Yes.
You have.
So I added Christopher Bell 8 to 1. Dude's been incredible at these 1.5s. He's probably going to qualify really well, and that number may shrink even shorter. So
that'll be like 6, and we'll be like, look, too bad we can't short it, and then he won't win,
and then he won't finish.
Yep,
he'll wreck. I'm adding Kyle Busch.
Yep,
just because hometown race, and then Willie B 12 to 1. I'm going basically with 3 of the 4 seasonal outrights we have.
There you go. Lock up those playoff spots. I'm going Ross Chastain. I'm going Kyle Busch, and I'm ending the outright card there. Let's flip over and look at the top 10. see if we can't find some interesting numbers. Obviously, there's going to be some aggressively priced drivers, but I think there also could be potential for values and guys that we think maybe make some noise and find a way kind of squeezing into those top 10. But those guys, they have not been friends to us, Brian. Even when we have good feelings, we'll find a couple of them, and then the rest of them really let us down. So Logano's minus 136 is interesting. And then we get into real like Chase Briscoe to top 10 at even money, Kevin Harvick to top 10 even money, Daniel Suarez at plus 140, plus 170 for Cindric. Eric Jones, the top 10 at 3-1 is going on the card.
Already added, my friend. That is like too good of a number to not wager. I know it's honestly, I feel like it's clickbait at this moment, at this time.
Yeah, no, the books put up the number. They're like, these two idiots are going to jump all over this number. Let's give it to them, give them that candy.
Yep.
And they'll take it.
But come on, like this guy always has the opportunity to get there, and he'll be running there mid race, and then he'll just wreck. It's just finish
or just have him
race.
be second, have him spin out at the end, and then he'll
finish
still
sixth.
grab a 7th or an 8th.
Yeah. Okay. I'd be okay with that.
Yep. As long as you obviously have the outright, so you want a little more juice out of that orange. But I'm happy with the top 10. Christopher Buescher. I mean, I feel like we fall for the same names every week, but
he's too good, dude. He top 10 again last week.
Yes, if I see a 3-1 number on a guy that I think can get me a solid finish, like I'm not asking him to win the race or even be top 5. I just say, be within the conversation. Don't absolutely murder yourself.
Yep.
And a 3-1 number is nice. Almirola 3-1 is kind of nice too.
And I almost feel like I'm going to fall for the same trap again as we go further and further down the list. But I did this earlier in the year. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. He's like, I believe he's right below AJ Allmendinger. He's posted at 7-1 to top 10. Like, this is a guy that performs pretty well traditionally. I know he hasn't over the last few races, but at these higher speed tracks, like again, if he can keep the tires on the pavement and avoid contact, he's gonna run good. He was in line for a top 10 in Vegas this spring until he had a pit row penalty that cost him. I think it was like on the last restart, he was speeding down pit row, which made him go to the back of the pack and caused him to finish 21st instead of inside the top 10.
Sounds about right. I'm adding an Almirola top 10. He is a guy that started 20th last time we were here, ended up finishing sixth. Had a similar outing at Darlington, started 22nd, finished 11th. I'm not gonna go aggressive. I'm not gonna go crazy. Buescher would be the other name that I would consider, and he'll probably qualify well, and then I'll end up adding like a plus 220. But I'm gonna try and be a little more patient this week. And then
it's really hard when you go back to the same guy.
Mm-hmm. Well, I feel like I give him 2 and 3 chances, and obviously Buescher's been great for us. He's been one of the guys that have actually been cashing bets, but I'm a little gun shy this week. Let's go to the head-to-head market. I think there's going to be some interesting value.
I just want to add, we'll see what you're saying when you arrive here in Vegas and we're at this.
On Saturday I'm going to be in the sports book, and then we're going to record the podcast, and I'm just going to be firing off bets like left and right, because that's the vibes will be right.
Okay, one more that I'm adding right now. I'm not on the Buescher train this week with you, but I am going to the Mike McDowell train at 7-1. Listen to this guy's finishes this year at intermediate tracks. Yes, he finished 27th at Vegas this year, but then 7th at Darlington, 23rd at Kansas, I understand, 8th at Charlotte, 13th at Nashville, 6th at Darlington, 16th at Kansas, and 11th at Texas. So this guy is clearly on the cusp of a top 10 almost every single week at intermediates, and of late he's been one of the most consistent cars of finishing inside the top 10. So a plus 700, like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, that is ridiculous, and I'm gonna stay away because I want you to hit a winner, and I'm not going to mush you. So good luck to you, sir. The head-to-head market has some interesting names. I am adding Logano over Elliott. We talked about Logano and how rock solid he is at the 1 mile and a half. I'm also taking Logano over Bubba. Minus 130 is a fine line. Like, obviously, I wish it was a little closer to even, but that's the number I can get to. So I'm happy to do that. Oh,
yeah, I was just gonna say, how do you feel about that one? That's a good number.
Welcome to the. I mean, if I'm on Ross to win the race, I know Denny has been absolutely amazing at these tracks, and I know he's been. I know he's the huge favorite, but plus 140 is a number I can absolutely get to. What about your guy Chris Bell against Denny Hamlin? Like that, it feels a little dangerous just because Christopher Bell feels like he has a much wider range of outcomes.
Yeah.
Could he win the race or get top 3? Of course, but I think I'd rather just bet him to win the race or bet him to win top 3 at a better number. So
exactly.
Suarez over Harvick is kind of interesting. Kyle Busch over Martin Truex.
Already bet that.
Minus 110.
I feel like that's the only matchup that I'm going to at the moment.
And I like how I'm like, oh yeah, no, I'm gonna keep it tight, keep it, not get ahead of my skis. And here's the head-to-head market. Let me just throw like 700 head-to-head bets on here. But if the books are gonna give me numbers that are compelling, then I'm going to jump on it. Blaney versus Byron. And then you have Blaney versus your two guys, Byron and Bell. So that's not going to work out. Briscoe plus 185 versus Byron.
That's ridiculous. I love Byron this week. I love Byron, but that's too big of a number for a matchup. All it takes is overheating car or
we've
a
talked
flat.
about Byron all year long. He's very feast or famine, and if you're going to give me that kind of number, I'm going to take it.
Yeah, and that's essentially, you're betting the number regardless of what the matchup is. I mean, obviously it's not a back marker. Like Briscoe can compete inside the 20s, but all it takes is a flat by Byron. He gets a lap down, and he's screwed the rest of the race.
Or like Brad Keselowski's behind him, or Ricky Spinhouse spins out right in front of him. Like, there's so many opportunities.
That's messed up. Of course, you gotta knock Ricky Spinhouse. I gotta see what paint scheme he's driving this week. And I know when we're there at the track this weekend, I am going to see if they're selling a Sunny D hat, because I want to buy the Stenhouse Sunny D hat.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I feel like we're gonna need to load up on some merch. I'm gonna get some Chastain stuff. I'm gonna get some. I don't know. I'll find a few things. I'm sure. Very very excited to hit the merch stands and load up on some gear this week, because this is our opportunity. I'll leave some extra room in the suitcase. All right, Brian. Any other head-to-heads you want to look at?
No, there's not a lot at the moment that I'm really.
Is there any as we head over to DraftKings Sportsbook and kind of take a look? We tend to find a little bit of a value on maybe top Ford, top Chevy. Let's go see if there's anything interesting over there.
Yeah, so I'm going to add right now. William Byron top Chevy is at 5-1 when you got there's 4 guys ahead of him: Elliott, Reddick, Chastain, Larson. Which, it's probably not going to hit, but Byron is as good, if not better, than a handful of those guys. So 5-1. If he booms, he has a chance to win the race.
Eric Jones at 60-1 to be top Chevy is kind of interesting too, because even if he doesn't win the race, you could get him like third or fourth.
Yep. The only thing is, like I said, Chevrolet has absolutely dominated here.
Yeah.
Lately.
Top Ford, Logano at plus 275 feels like a pretty decent number. Really is a big drop off to the rest of the field, and then top Toyota. Chris Bell at 3-1. Kyle Busch.
Yeah, I just want to point out like how we had been talking about Christopher Bell since June, and it took the sports books this long to recognize how good he was actually performing, and now you see it in the odds of him being the second favorite Toyota to finish here. Finally,
now he's actually cashing bets instead of just instead of having issues and falling apart in stage 3.
Yeah, true. And then also too, if you scan over to win the poll, Denny Hamlin and Christopher Bell are the two favorites at 6-1.
I am adding Kyle Busch to be top Toyota at 5-1. I think that's a good number, and I think he has a strong race here. So I think that makes sense. Let's look. Yeah, Bell and Hamlin, that makes sense. Reddick, Chastain at 8-1 is kind of interesting. Logano at 10-1 is kind of interesting.
Let me check out the. Do we have average start? Oh yeah. Let's see.
Christopher Bell did win the poll. We were here in March. Larson was right behind him. Then Cindric, then Briscoe, then Chase Elliott.
Well, it is interesting to note. So Denny Hamlin has started 5 of the last 6 intermediate tracks: 4th, 1st, 6th, 2nd. Like, he's pretty damn good at qualifying at these track types.
And he's priced accordingly.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else, or do you want to recap the card, give the people a best bet, and get the hell out of here?
I think I'm good for now. The card will be much larger come race time.
Oh yeah,
that's for sure.
So as you can see, the 2 outrights: Chastain, Kyle Busch, 9.5 and a 12. I'm going Eric Jones to top 10 at 3-1. I'm going Eric Almirola to top 10 at 3-1. I have Logano over Elliott at plus 130. I have Logano over Bubba at minus 130. I have Ross over Denny at plus 140. Kyle Busch over Martin Truex at minus 110. Chase Briscoe over William Byron, just because of that plus 185. I think they're relatively similar. I think Byron has a higher upside, but also a much lower floor. And then I'm going Kyle Busch as your top Toyota at 5-1. Brian, hit the people with your card, let them know what you're thinking, and give them a best bet.
Well, I'm going strong in the outright market to begin the week. Christopher Bell, Kyle Busch, Ryan Blaney, and William Byron all on an outright. Top 10s, I got 3: Eric Jones, Ricky Spinhouse. And this week, I'm going with Michael McDowell, not my guy, Chris Buescher. I'm also riding the train of Kyle Busch over Martin Truex Jr., and I have William Byron as the top Chevy, also at 5-1.
I like it. What is your best bet for the South Point 400 as we sit here on Wednesday evening?
This one, it shines out to me like bet me. Kyle Busch over Martin Truex Jr. It's his home track. It's his last year with JGR. Kyle was clearly going to pick that by his response, but it's just too easy of a bet coming to a place that Kyle Busch probably absolutely loves driving in. He's probably going to be emotional this last year with JGR's last race for that team at his home track. So I love Busch this weekend to finish ahead of teammate Martin Truex.
Yeah, that was 100% going to be my bet.
Just go for it.
This is me lately. I am not going to mush you. I am going to go Logano over Bubba at minus 130. I think this is a good bet. I think Logano is rock solid and has a really good chance at finishing at least top 10, probably higher. And I think, we've talked Bubba. We think he's made strides as a driver, but this is not one of his fortes in terms of a track. So I will take Logano. I will take the range of outcomes that typically finishes it higher, and the odds being close enough to even makes me really excited. So that is my best bet. That is Brian Twining. I'm Kyle Robert. Make sure you guys check out our show on Sunday morning. Make sure you join us on the Quick Six. We will have 6 NFL picks, and Brian and I went 4-1-1 this week, so a nice little winning week for both of us. And we will talk to you next time.